Shaurya Bansal, the president of Spark, began with a much awaited event, Epiphany 3.0. We have India's leading corporate anchor, Mr. Gitesh Singh, who has an experience of over 14 years. He has hosted more than 2000 shows over 30 plus countries and has co hosted shows with various celebrities like MS Dhoni, Neha Dhupia, and Vani Kapoor, etc.
That when I was in college, just like all of you, uh, in order to shape my personality and also build my career, I was also going through the same kind of dilemma that you all go through. So when Spark reached out to me to be the host, I mean, extremely excited, and also I am delighted to be a part of this. Today we have with us first speaker at Epiphany 3.0. He's the head of blockchain and cryptocurrency committee at the Internet and Mobile Association of India, an angel investor and mentor. As the former CEO of ZPay, with a pronounced history of working in the fintech industry, he has a staggering amount of expertise in the realms of investment and cryptocurrency. Ajit sir, actually, for all of us, the young kids in this entire area of cryptocurrency, so this is what we have in our mind, sir. हमें यही लगता है कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी एक ऐसी चीज है बिकॉज वी हैव सीन सो मेनी पीपल ऑन इंटरनेट कि जिन्होंने क्रिप्टो करेंसी में इन्वेस्ट किया और अब वो इतने रिच हो गए हैं. सो सर यही हमारे मतलब एक कंस्ट्रक्ट हो जाता है सर माइंड में.
So before even anything else, let me actually talk about that construct. There are two parts to it. One is that it is right, and second is that it is wrong. So let's begin with that. The reason it is right is because, for example, let's take the case of a stock exchange. If I'm not mistaken, today the Bombay Stock Exchange Index, which is called Sensex, is at 60,000 roughly, and it was at 100 on 1st January 1980. So in these last 40 years, it has gone up from 100 to 60,000, which gives it a annualized rate of around 14% or thereabouts. That means people have done well. But the problem with looking at such indexes, and by the way, if you look at the Bitcoin index, it is dramatically more than this. It used to be like 1 cent in 2010, $1 in 2011, and today it is probably around $42,000. But the important thing to understand is that this is the weighted average return of the market. That does not mean, quite obviously, that everybody has made this return. But in the long term, when you're going to sustained basis make a profit, only that investor will succeed. Who understands, has the knowledge, has done their research, as opposed to attend a talk and somebody says go do this and they're like yahoo, I'll do this. So somebody who does the research, somebody who understands, somebody who follows a methodology thesis. Of course, human beings cannot be removed from their emotions, but somebody who does not make purely emotional decisions. Is that cryptocurrency, I believe, is the first fundamental technology that has come in, which has allowed the common person like you and me to participate. Right? Suppose you want to buy shares in a particular company listed on the stock market. Sure, you can be blind followers and somebody said it's a great share, so you bought it, which is completely not a recommended method. But if you have at least some basic desire to, do some research, if somebody says buy shares of this company, the least you would do is ask, what does this company do? So I think it is completely reasonable and required that you ask yourself, what does Bitcoin do? What does Ethereum do? What does XYZ cryptocurrency do? So for example, let's take the case of a bank. Does a bank create any value? Should the world have banks? My answer is yes. Banks allow you to have accounts. They store money for you. They move money from person A to person B. They allow you to generate a yield. You can even borrow money from banks. Great. What if there is cryptocurrency which does all of these things? Except that at the other end, there is no bank, but there is a pool of humanity. This area of cryptocurrency is called DeFi, which is short for decentralized finance. Decentralized finance had a total value of around $1 billion in January of 2020. And frankly, at a global level, $1 billion is a very small amount. When I say total value, it means all the money that people had put into DeFi. Just like if I want to see what is the total value locked into banks, I would see all the deposits that people hold. So $1 billion was very less in January of 2020. And by around April of 21, which is 16 months later, it was around $100 billion. So there are very few industries or sectors which can grow 100-fold in a period of 16 months. If you look at the total number of people who had an exposure to the stock market, by exposure to the stock market, I mean they either purchased shares or they purchase mutual funds, which in turn purchase shares. That number might probably, let's say a few years ago, be around 3 crores in India. And if you see what that number has become today, probably it has grown like 30-40%. If you look at similarly the number of people who held crypto in India around 4-5 years ago, and what is the number today, it is probably not 30-40% more, it might be 30-40 times more. That means 3,000-4,000%, or maybe 2,000%, or some number like that. Now what happens is when new people come into the market, what does that mean? That means they are bringing new money into the market. What is this money doing? It's buying some crypto. So by the very act of so many new market participants coming in, more money comes into the market, so prices increase. People would ask me, when will cryptocurrency be used like currency? Which means you'll go to Starbucks and you will pay for coffee using the Bitcoin. The fact is that while that was a very important and very valid question some time ago, today with 12,000 currencies, of which at least 100 are very widely distributed, at least 100 out of 12,000, what tends to happen is that different cryptocurrencies are meant to do different things. Today, most people do not say that Bitcoin is even supposed to be used as a medium of transaction. Most people see Bitcoin as a store of value. So that is why, for example, gold is a form of money. It's a form of wealth for sure. Whether it's a form of money can be debated depending on how you define money. But yes, I could take a chunk of gold and give to somebody, and that person will probably sell me his motor car, through a barter system. But people don't do that. The reason people don't do that is because currency notes or digital forms of money such as NEFT, RTGS, net banking, UPI, etc. clearly is a superior method. Bitcoin has not reached that point. However, there are other cryptocurrencies that are emerging which are quite likely going to be mediums of transaction. Cryptocurrency as money can do all that money can do. But what else it can do is still being built. The apps that are going to be built on cryptocurrency are still being built. Like, for example, go back to your first email account, whatever that was, Hotmail, Yahoo, or maybe Gmail or whatever. It was pretty pathetic compared to what we can do now. So I think that the future of cryptocurrency relies on 3 things. Number one, that more and more development will occur on top of it. I think this is inevitable. Number 2 is that adoption will grow. By adoption, I mean more and more people will get into it. They will not get intimidated by, oh, what is this blockchain? I'm not an engineer, so can I understand cryptocurrency? They will say, okay, I can't understand the technicals behind cryptocurrency, but I can't understand the technicals behind Paytm. I still use Paytm, the app, so I may be able to use a cryptocurrency app. And the third thing will be that governments take a view which is not too regressive.
You might be wondering, what are we trying to do with financial markets? And why are we so attached with finance and financial markets? I tell you, the core philosophy, the idea, why we wanted to do something in finance or to spread financial literacy is because early in our life we realized that there is a widespread financial illiteracy in our country, which we need to control. And the second thing, a little later, which we realized that the penetration of Indian financial markets is very, very low.
Quickly about me and my entrepreneurial journey, and I'll start with a quotation from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam about something which I very, very deeply believe. If any one of you want to go into entrepreneurial life, or you want to take up a job, or want to do anything, the words which are here can help you, guide you. That is, never stop fighting until you arrive at your destined place. That is the unique you. Have an aim in life and continuously acquire knowledge. Work hard and have the perseverance to realize the great life. Friends, if you read this, there is one single word which will come repetitively in this, not the word, but the meaning of that, which is perseverance. You need to stick around. You need to be there. You need to continuously evolve. And as Mr. Khurana said, and Gitesh said, that knowledge is the most important element in creation of you as an individual, and in creation of wealth, in creation of the personality which you want to be. Coming to what we started, we wanted to democratize financial markets, and we realized that an investor's journey will be in 4 paths. A person needs to learn about financial markets or cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin or anything, anything in finance, because it's little complicated. Not everyone will know. And you will be very surprised to know that even very highly qualified professionals are not financially educated people. They don't know the basics of financial markets and finance. and they kind of lose money, or their money doesn't grow at a rate at which it should grow. So learning is a crucial part. Then once you have learned the basics and nitty-gritties of finance or financial markets, you need to have the access to the right data and analytics so that you can make the right decision. Third is, we Indians, we have this beautiful habit of talking to people about our investments, right? Kahan invest kare, kis share mein invest kare, kis mein dalu, and we talk to our uncles, our dads, our neighbors, our friends. So that is the social interaction piece around investing. And the fourth is ultimately we need a platform to invest in. Friends, there has been sea change in the way finance as an industry is working, and there has been players in all the areas. Earlier, everything used to be done by a single broker who used to drive all the transactions of financial markets. But now different pieces have been taken by different individuals. We decided that to democratize financial markets, we need to work on all the four areas. And that's why we first created the piece, which is a learning piece, eLearn Markets, which Jitesh said 400,000. That was the 1-year-old data. I don't know where that was picked from, but now we are 1.1 million learners, 150 plus experts in 7 vernacular languages, and it is growing very. Then we went ahead and created the second piece, which was analysis. We created a tool called Stockage, which has now 2.5 million downloads, and it is one of the highest rated app in India, which has got all 6,000 stocks which are listed in India and all the mutual fund schemes. You can do quick analysis of that. Our idea was to give something as powerful as Bloomberg to a retail individual investor in his mobile. Now I'll quickly talk about fintech as an industry. And friends, at your age, it's extremely crucial that you understand this industry, because if you go a little back, right, I'll take you through the evolution. In 2008, when I passed out, it was a very unique year because the whole world was going through a recession. Suddenly, Lehman Brothers happened. Suddenly, in USA, the subprime crisis happened, which took the world by storm and which actually shook the confidence of people in institutions like banks. A lot of banks failed at that point of time, and this led to an advent of new financial players. And that was the time in 2009 Bitcoin got launched. The Google Wallet got launched a little later in 2011. Apple Pay got launched, right? And this entire change came up because that event in 2008 happened, which made people realize that there can be alternatives, because what we feel are rock solid institutions can also be, suddenly you can have an incident, a black swan incident, and things will be wiped off. So people wanted something which is more decentralized, more transparent. So things like Bitcoin and Google Wallets and Apple Pay came up. In India, particularly 2016, that black swan event, that thing which took people by a storm was demon. No one in our generation at least have seen a thing like demonetization, when suddenly 500 rupees note and 2000 rupees notes were gone, right? They were of no value. This led to a tsunami of changes in the way digital money works. I remember there was a full page ad in Times of India for multiple days. Suddenly when this demonetization happened, and this ad was by Paytm, and there were similar players where Modi ji's full picture was there in the full page. Basically, it was a golden moment for them when they realized that now digital money will be in full swing. And that's what happened also, right? We as individuals, all of us sitting here, might have used digital payments either through credit card or wallets or something or the other in our lifetime already, right? So, and the other thing which has happened is our traditional banking infrastructure was struggling, and it is still struggling, which also led the creation of lot of entrepreneur backed fintech startups, right? Which changed the entire interface, the way users deal with technology, right? This led to a rapid adoption of fintech and many players which you all have seen, like Paytm, PhonePe, MobiKwik, Free Recharge, and there were many more which came up. And every day today also there are new use cases coming in, right? So this made sure that smartphone is going to be there, digital money is going to be there, and that's going to be the future. My key learnings, Gitesh, one slide, just 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Friends, over 10-12 years, I've learned one thing. When we are in college, we give more importance to hard skills. hard skills are basically what we learn at college, like finance, like, if you are coding, then coding and things like that. But friends, the softer aspect of life are much more important, especially ethics and the value with which we work. So some of my key values I'll tell you. As I told you, perseverance is more important than passion and the idea on which you will work put together. Because passion can die down, right? You are very passionate photographer, but if you have to go and click in a wedding photography, probably when people will nudge you to click their pictures, your passion might go down there, right? But if you know that I have to stick around, then perseverance will take you through that. Second, when you want to do things at a large scale, you need people. You cannot do it alone. Akela chana bhan nahi phodta. Right? So mission, vision, objective, and key results. These are the terms which are very beautiful when we talk about that. But clear communication of these things to your team are more crucial. You as an individual have to be an extremely crisp and clear communicator if you want to be a good entrepreneur. And last but not the least, always remember that the team which work with you, which give their soul and heart to you, are more important than customers and investors put together. People say that customers are king and investors are, you don't know what. But I say if you combine both of that, your team members are more important, because if they are happy, they are working hard for you, customers will come, investors will come.
Boys, we have one of the finest actors of this era with us. We have Shreya Gupta. You watched her, brilliant art of acting with filter copy videos, with the Girly Appa, with All Right, Are, and you have also seen her share the screen with Rajnikant. Hi Shreya, welcome to Epiphany. That how did it start? Her journey, which is so inspiring. Your uh, entire movement in the entertainment spectrum from being a student.
Right.
We would like to know about that.
Right. So, I most of you, if you followed me or my work, would be knowing that I'm a Bengali raised in Chennai. And in Chennai, when I was in school, I used to be very, very dramatic, not with the plan that I wanted to become an actor, but as a child and as a very, like, having a very unconventional childhood, I used to be very dramatic and seeking for attention, as I was saying in your the video you just showed. So, I mean, I don't know if that's called manifestation or if that's called, attracting something. It's just that I got my first film when I was in like eighth standard, and that's only because my principal was really fed up of my dramatic nuisance in the class all the time, seeking for attention. And she was like, you know what, you should act. You're very dramatic. And her son, Mr. Gautam Menon sir, had given me first opportunity to work opposite to Mr. Surya in this film named Varanamayiram, which is a Tamil film. And that's where, it just started. I wouldn't say it just started there and until then, it's been like 2 decades fully I'm working. It's not that. My mother was very, very particular that I had to finish my education and everything. So summer holidays mein thoda kar liya whenever, I got opportunities. And then undergrad ke baad, okay, I wasn't really sure if acting could be a career or not. And then post-graduation kiya. And then I was like, you know what, I have degrees now. Let me just try. Let me just try entering the industry. And that's when Bombay happened. And I'm so, so glad it happened. Back then in Chennai, we didn't have the audition process. We just had portfolio pictures, mail karne the. And then if you're having a meeting with the director or whatever, you got to be, it's just that one chance you had. There was no audition process. And that's precisely why I shifted from Chennai to Mumbai, because Mumbai mein auditions ही auditions होते हैं. There's a lot of process and a lot of like steps and everything to get through a project, which is very, very fair and which is very good as well. It gives opportunity to everybody. So yeah, that's how it happened.
When you go to, when you go to a studio for an audition and damn, you don't get selected. So that breaks your heart. That makes, be your mind filled with doubts that time. Us time par, what keeps you going ki nahi, let's try another one, not to lose hope. How do you manage that?
a period of time, to be very honest, because this is also part of the business, you get very used to it. So it's like, marriage. Unless and until you are in the mandap, you look at the side if that person is there or not, there is no guarantee you're getting that project or not. So expectations come ho jate hai, and you do develop a thick skin. And what keeps me going is I have no other option. That's my tagline in my head. I have no other option. I have to do it.
How do you move from one character to the other so smoothly? Because sometimes you have multiple shoots happening. You're
Yeah.
playing various characters which are absolutely different.
Right. Right.
So to zone in and to zone out, how does that happen with you, and how do you manage it?
You guys have seen my work. It's filter copy, array, girliapa, and everything. To zone in and zone out is not that difficult at all, to be very honest. I mean, it's not that difficult at all, because mostly you're this, the late 20s or early 20s girl playing yourself. Mostly it's that. But I'm dying to be in that spot where I can answer your question, the difficulty of zoning in and zoning out. I'm dying to have such kind of characters, or that kind of part where I have to zone out and work like that.
As an actress, do you feel there is any prejudice against female actors? The kind of pressure that a female actor undergoes.
Not at all. Like in OTT, like the kind of people I've worked with, if you see, there's Girliapa. There is no boy-centric channel, right? So, I mean, girls are getting a lot of privileges. Like, there is no way I would say that no, guys are, there's nothing like that in the kind of atmosphere I'm coming from. So, yeah.
Gentlemen, girls and boys, we are extremely honored and privileged that we have been joined by a Kargil war hero as a captain in the Indian Army, who's motivated his commando team and led 3 attacks during Kargil war to achieve victory on Black Rock, on Tololing, and despite being hit by 3 bullets, ladies and gentlemen, he did what he did for our country is something which is highly commendable, very respectable. He's the current vice president as the head of Tata Communications. We are honored by the presence of Captain Akhilesh Saxena. Welcome, sir.
All right, so Jai Hind everyone. It's always a privilege to speak to young generation, right? I always think that's our responsibility to ensure that our new generation, next generation, young generation, moving in the right direction. So that's a little bit contribution from our side. So what I'm going to do today, as most of you are going to start your career, your journey in life, right? Both professional journey, your personal journey. I think there are very few basic things which are very important for all of us in life. So what I'll do, I will just give you few learning, and I mostly call them, these are the lessons from the battlefield, because this is what we have learned on the battlefield. But good news is they can be equally applicable for all of us everywhere in life, army, profession, or in our personal life. And actually I've used it. I got injured and I have to move out. I've joined corporate, but I used every lesson what I have learned, and that's what I just want to share some of these lessons, which is mostly part of my life. One of the most important thing which I'm going to talk about is the attitude. It's a winner attitude, to look at positive side in every situation. So we do not have control what life threw at us, right? We don't know it. Right now we have got COVID, and in your life, each one of us has faced some situation that we feel, why we are going through this situation. But if we have got the right attitude, and what I call it, that's a winner's attitude, and we don't take the victim's mindset, then we can make so much of difference. But then what do we do? If this is the situation, do we just take victim's mindset or winner's attitude? Right? You can see Vikram standing there, and all of us young officers who were given this charge that we still need to get the victory. In fact, we all of us volunteered that we will get the victory for India. Right? The cause is so high that whatever is the sacrifice we are going to make. The winner's attitude is look at the positive side of it, and not only me. me, Captain Vijayan Thapar, Captain Vikram Batra, Captain Manoj Pandey, Major Acharya, Major Adhikari, every one of us thought that, if today, if we are having this uniform, today is the day when we have to, go for the call of duty. In fact, I was just married for 1 month, and immediately my posting came, and then we were in thick of this situation. In fact, I volunteered for this attack because I thought if we have to die, it may be even in the road accident, right? But if you are really fighting for a cause where not only your entire unit, but your nation is looking at you, right? We used to get letters, we used to get Rakhis in bundles. That's, we are entire nation is looking at you to keep the prestige of Tiranga high. So this was the moment that we say we will take a winner's attitude. We will take it as the opportunity that life has given us the chance to fight for our country. That you in your life also, you will go through many situations where life will not play fair to you, right? You will always think why this is happening with me, and you feel depressed, and then you go into self spiral. You start going down. But at that time, you say, I will take it as an opportunity. I will look at it, what I can make out of it. You look at the positive side, what we thought that, whatever happens, we will take it as an opportunity and do our best, whatever may be the situation. And we actually got a victory which was near impossible. So finally, in everything in life, start with your attitude. And every battle is fight. You fight every battle twice. One is in your mind, and then actual execution on the ground. So whenever you face any situation, just remember that you need to have a winner's attitude, whatever happens, right? The another thing, because I'm sure you have got hundreds of choice with you, right? So follow your real passion. Now, please understand and look at the words. Follow your real passion in life. But right now, what we do, our passion keep changing, right? Our choice also keep changing what we want to do in life. You know why? Because we don't look deep inside that what's really passionate for us. Today, we are so surrounded by social media. We are so surrounded by digital media that, they are continuously putting us back with a lot of information which is impacting us. And this is the time that we need to take a step back and understand what is my real passion. That's what I'm saying. Follow your real passion. It has to be yours. It should not be imposed by someone because entire world is doing something, your group of friend is doing something, or you have been pressurized by somebody to do that. You have to step back and find what is your passion. That will first help you in identifying your core values in life. What do you really stand for? What do you make it happy? What you will like to do it even in your free time? What is something that you will like to even put money and do that? So that will give you some hint about what you really want to do in your life. And from these core values, then you should say what's your passion in life and what is the real career? What is the real work you want to do in life? Which will, because once you find you combine your passion and your work, you are a winner. You never have to work ever in your life. So at this point of time, just follow your real passion. But passion should not be short sighted. Go deep, look inside yourself. But see, your parents always look whatever they think is right, right? But finally, what you have to tell them that you may not be happy really by doing something which is forced to you. And as I told you, there are so many forces which is coming on to us, correct? It may be from digital media, social media is putting, they are telling you what the life is all about. They are defining the life for you. Don't let it. Define your life yourself. So that will ensure do that. And I'm sure if you have a meaningful discussion with your parents, tell them what's your passion, what's your commitment, and then why you will be happy in that particular profession. Tell him the plus and minus of all these things, right? That will really make you happy. When we were leading this attack, Tololing attack, and where 2 attacks were already failed, we really don't know how to motivate our Jawan. And we all young officers were sitting there, right? I was there, Vikram, Vijayan Thapar, Major Acharya. We were all thinking, how do we motivate our man in such a difficult time? And we just decided one thing. Normally, an officer stay in the middle for command and control. But this is not a normal situation. So we decided we will lead this attack from the front, and if first bullet come, this will hit us rather than any of my team. And this just one action, without saying any word, done miracle, right? Our Jawans were so motivated that finally on 13 June, we put the tricolor